My 22F partner, 24M, doesn't get my bladder issues. How can I get him to understand my situation? First things first, it's important to note I am currently 22 weeks pregnant. Among many other things, my bladder is much weaker. I feel like I constantly have to pee, and the feeling only briefly goes away if I manage to get enough out. This has been happening for a while, and my partner has known about it. I have brought it up plenty of times. But I guess since it never really affected him, he just shrugged it off, until today. We were on our way back from shopping, and were driving back home. It was only a 40-minute drive, and I had peed before we left, but about 20 minutes and I had to pee again. I told him, and we looked for a place to stop, but a few minutes later I could feel myself leaking, and I told him we needed to stop right now. We were on a bit of road between two towns, so I thought it would be fine, but he insisted on my holding it, so I tried but I just couldn't and told him to pull over urgently. He sighed but pulled over. I immediately opened the door, took my pants off, and turned to face the side of the road on my seat. I sat there for a minute or so with a slow trickle that stopped for a while before he asked me what I was doing. I reiterated that I was peeing, to which he replied, "No, you're not. You're just sitting there. If you really had to pee as bad as you said you did, you would be peeing." I told him that's not how it works, and I needed to really focus to be able to actually pee. He sighed again, and I sat there for 5 minutes trying before he spoke up again. "Are you actually gonna pee, or are we gonna sit here forever?" I told him to give me more time. Another 5 minutes, another complaint from him before he just says, "Let's just go home, you obviously don't need." He starts the engine again, and despite me telling him I still have to go, he ignores me and am forced to pull my pants back up and put my seatbelt back on. While still desperate and trying to hold it, we keep driving, all while I tell him to pull over again. A bit more time goes by, maybe 5 minutes from home now, and I completely lose control and wet myself. I completely started sobbing as I felt it all release, while my partner is silent, just sighing again. We get back home, and I go and clean myself up and change. When I come out, he asks why I didn't just pee while we were stopped, and I just shouted and left. I haven't spoken to him since, and it's honestly just annoyed me. I've tried to explain how it works, and he just doesn't understand it. I don't know what I can do to make him understand my situation. I really don't want to be a burden, but I don't know what alternative I have besides just sitting there waiting until I can pee. Any advice would be helpful. Please start wearing bladder incontinence undergarments. Your partner should respect your need to stop for restroom breaks, but you can also be prepared for when that's not possible. Also speak with your doctor about your inability to void your bladder. Feeling an urgent need to go often is normal during pregnancy, but being unable to urinate when trying is not a normal part of pregnancy, and may be a sign of an infection or other issue beyond pregnancy. Given that he literally saw you soil yourself and break down in tears, I don't think this is a matter of him not understanding the situation. He's choosing to believe you're exaggerating, which is way more problematic. I mean, your partner chooses to believe that you'd prefer to pee on yourself, so you can be dramatic. Does he even like you? As practical matter, you should consider wearing Depends or maxi pads when you go out. If you can't find a bathroom, you at least don't have to pull over on the side of the road to avoid soiling yourself. You should also get checked for a UTI, which is also more common during pregnancy. I'm 32 weeks and also have to pee more frequently, but I have only experienced the urgency and difficulty vacating you're describing when I've had a UTI. I am going to put aside my knee-jerk reaction to stop and tell you to please talk to your OBGYN about your issue with voiding your bladder. Having to pee constantly is very normal. Having issues peeing is not so much, though to be fair, you weren't exactly in a relaxing situation to unclench your pelvic floor muscles. There are people whose babies sit on their bladder in such a way that it traps urine and can give them a nasty infection. Rare, but it happens. Please take your partner with you to this next appointment and tell the doctor the whole story. Let him hear from a doctor that urgency incontinence is pretty normal for a pregnant woman. Invest in some Depends and stop giving a fuck what other people think. If he's already this dense and unsupportive now, I fear for what may happen in the next year or two while you go through pregnancy, childbirth, and healing your body from that whole ordeal. You cannot trust this man to care for you in the way you need when this relatively small thing is already such a burden to him. You won't be able to get him to understand unless he wants to put in the effort. Prepare for the worst. I'm 22 weeks pregnant. Last night, while visiting my parents' house, we had dinner, and while my husband and I were driving home, I started to feel sick. The food had really slowed in my digestive tract due to the position of the baby. We were on the highway. I told my husband I needed to pull over, and he did so immediately, no questions asked. It was essentially a scene from The Exorcist. After, because we didn't have any napkins in the car, he gave me his jacket to clean up with. When we got home, he cleaned the side of the car and did all the laundry. Your partner is cruel. Being pregnant isn't easy. He's a man and won't ever know what it's like, but that doesn't matter. He doesn't have to know in order to sympathize and want to take care of you and ensure you're comfortable. He knows he doesn't care. This is abuse BTW. You are going to experience worse treatment from him as the pregnancy progresses. You are probably going to think this response is dramatic, but I was in your shoes. My partner treated me so poorly and dismissed my discomfort, and I ended up giving birth prematurely. I was at risk for a stroke and started losing my eyesight. My honest advice would be to go stay with your family and leave when he's at work. Please be careful. Read this book. My boyfriend, 33 male, constantly compares me, 29 female, to other women. Today something happened that made me feel really hurt. My boyfriend sent me a photo from the gym, and I replied with a photo of my body. He responded with an awkward emoji. I asked if he didn't like it, and he said, "Are you trying to show that you've lost weight?" I replied, "Yes." Then he sent a photo of a girl with a perfect body from the internet, and said that in 6 months I could look like that too. I felt upset because it seems like he never says anything positive about my body and often compares me to other girls. For context, I don't consider myself overweight. I weigh 57 kilograms. But his message made me feel like I'm not good enough, and that he prefers the body in the photo over mine. In translation, your BF is an AH. Treats you like crap. Can't be proud of you. Instead needs to dump on you like you're not good enough. 57 kilograms is nowhere even close to being overweight either. Please get rid of men like this. There is no respect or love with people like that. Always the type to break you down instead of lift you up, not quality partner material. You're 29. Please stop wasting your youth on a guy who doesn't even feel attracted to you. Send him a picture of a porn actor with a huge dick. Then dump this fucking clown. You should constantly compare him to a compassionate human being. Reply with a photo of a fit, handsome man from the internet. He's a prick. Does he say anything positive about you? Do you feel confident around him? Married 20 years to a stay-at-home mom, 40F. But I'm 45M, at my breaking point, need advice. My wife, 40F, and I, 45M, have been together 20 years and have 3 amazing kids, 11, 8, and 2. I love my family deeply and have poured everything into building a stable life for them. I'm a disabled veteran working full-time as a government accountant, bringing home about $8,000 per month after taxes, $96,000 net/year. I've battled severe bipolar disorder, ADHD, and chronic pain, plus a past addiction that put me in rehab twice, 16 months total. I'm 3 years sober now, religiously compliant with meds and therapy, and consistently performing at a high level at work despite everything. I've grown tremendously over the years, from a very rough past to a Dean's List graduate with a solid career. My wife has been a stay-at-home mom the entire time. Early on, I was grateful for that, but over the years the dynamic has become unsustainable, and it's seriously impacting my mental health. The issues. The house, it's in constant disarray, food left out, trash on floors, persistent fruit flies. She insists she cleans all day, and takes huge pride in being a som, but the results just aren't there. When I try to help clean, she gets offended and says I'm undermining her role. Kids' health and hygiene. Our children have had almost no routine dental care. Only 2 appointments total across all 3 kids in their lives. The oldest now needs extensive orthodontic work because an issue was ignored for months, despite her telling me it was handled. Basic hygiene habits are slipping too. The kids are starting to follow her lead on bathing and brushing teeth, even though I remind them constantly. Finances. Despite a comfortable income, we're living paycheck to paycheck. I've discovered credit cards and payday loans opened in my name without my knowledge, plus lawsuits from unpaid bills she hid from me, including while I was in rehab. Her own health and focus. She has undiagnosed/untreated ADHD and sometimes takes my prescribed Adderall. She prioritizes hours of mobile gaming each day, master rank in a competitive game, but struggles with basic household and family responsibilities. Communication. Any attempt to discuss these concerns, even calmly, leads to major conflict. She becomes highly defensive, shifts blame, often bringing up my past addiction or time in rehab as reasons she's overwhelmed. Changes topics rapidly, and rarely takes meaningful responsibility. These fights are triggering prolonged depressive episodes for me, and I'm genuinely worried about relapsing into darker mental health territory. I already spend hours isolating just to avoid another argument. I don't want divorce. We've built a life together, and I still care about her deeply, but I can't keep living like this without losing my own stability. Question to the community. How do you hold an emotionally immature partner accountable for basic adult responsibilities, health, hygiene, finances, household, without destroying the relationship or your own mental health in the process? Has anyone successfully navigated something similar where one partner grew significantly while the other stayed stagnant? Any advice on next steps that protect the kids and my sobriety/mental health? Too long did not read. I've overcome addiction and serious mental health challenges to provide a good income and stable home. My stay-at-home wife neglects housekeeping, kids' medical needs, finances, and hygiene routines. Confrontations turn into blame-shifting fights that are worsening my bipolar disorder. I want to save the marriage, but I need her to step up. Advice welcome. Dude, you've been through addiction and rehab. You've been diagnosed with bipolar and ADHD. Clearly you're well-versed in therapy. Yet, nowhere do you mention that you've even discussed couples therapy. You need a couples counselor, stat. You've poured everything into creating a stable life for your family. And yet your kids are in serious medical neglect, living in a home full of garbage and filth, and on the verge of financial ruin. Maybe you should change something. And it's not going to be by finding the magic words that will turn your wife into a different person. So you are doing better now for the past 3 years. But she has been in battle mode for the 17 before that. To answer in regard to holding your partner accountable, bring up your concern in using I statements plus specifics. So let's say with hygiene you can say, hygiene is important to me. If hygiene isn't being taken care, it affects how I feel. This has worked for me as I've been in therapy with my spouse. With that being said, since you want to avoid divorce, I say go to couples therapy. When we get older, we get stuck in certain ways of life, stagnant. And hopefully with you both in therapy, it will help the communication and make both of you not just feel heard, but understood. I hope this helps and wanted to give a congratulations to your 3-year sobriety. Get a company to deep clean the house. Personally make appointments to take kids to dentist, and wife gets a job. You both work, clean the house in turns, and both accept responsibility for the health of the kids. 2-parent working household is pretty much the norm. Well, if she's not taking care of your home and kids, then she sucks at her job as Som. You might as well live in the same amount of disarray, but have her take a paid job so she can bring in some income, perhaps enough to pay for house cleaning services. You said no divorce, but the credit card fraud is divorce-worthy. At the very least, lock down your family's finances and get on a plan to make her pay it back with her earned wages. Partner 40M unsure about marriage with me 30F after 2 years. How would you handle this? My partner 40M and I 30F have been together just over 2 years. We live together, plan a future, and both want kids. When we were first dating, he said marriage wasn't important to him, but he would do it if it was important to his partner. He did mention his parents' bad divorce and some other unsuccessful marriages in his extended family. On our first-year anniversary, he agreed that for our second anniversary we could go ring shopping. So he seemed on board with marriage. However, a few months after that, he said 2 years in would be too soon for ring shopping and that he has hang-ups about the institution of marriage. At the time, I encouraged him to speak with a therapist so that he could have clarity on his stance about marriage. It took 5 months before he reached out to a therapist. It was a busy time for him at work, but still 5 months. And since then he has spoken to 2 different therapists, but neither has been a good fit for various reasons. He is now in the process of reaching out to a therapist that has been recommended by a friend. About halfway through this year, he said he does see us getting married one day, but wouldn't give a timeline. We agreed to revisit the timeline question in December, this month. Well, recently he told me he's unsure about getting married due to his parents' bad divorce. He still wants a life with me and children, but marriage itself is now uncertain. He's in therapy to work through his hang-ups on the institution of marriage. I set February as my personal limit for clarity on whether he even believes in marriage. He agreed and will have monthly check-ins. I'm struggling to feel emotionally safe while this question is unresolved. My personal values wouldn't allow me to have the life we plan without marriage. I wouldn't have children with someone I wasn't married to. Even if he eventually says yes, I worry about trusting him because he seems to flip-flop on this topic. I find myself pulling back emotionally to try and feel safe and cautious. Plenty of men use, "I don't trust the institution of marriage," as an excuse to just stay with someone they have no intention of marrying. Then when they meet the right person, they seem to magically get over it and will often propose within a pretty short time frame. If he wanted to, he would. He doesn't want to marry you. So he blames his parents for being weary of marriage. At 40, that screams immature, and I'd leave based on that alone. But is willing to have children like it's less commitment? EW girl, he's too old for this crap. You're 30. You are right to set a limit on how long you'll wait around if you want kids. You need time to meet someone else, etc., etc. I also think it is understandable that if he isn't sure, you're finding yourself pulling away. You don't feel emotionally safe because you are not. You can hang around until February if you want. Then you can say you did all you could and gave it chance. But if it were me, I think I would already have walked. Don't waste any more time on a relationship that's not going to fulfill your needs. He's 40 years old and can't commit. Move on. Stop wasting time. If he is unsure after 2 years, it means no. Whatever his trauma is, it would not be yours to solve. Move on. Especially if you want kids. I think 2 years is the max I would wait, especially at that age, for someone to be sure about me. Anything much longer than that, and no, they're not the one. Obviously, if you're in your early 20s, it's different. People may not be in the right place in life to be married. But 30-40ths, yes. I'm 28 and my boyfriend is 21, and I know he'll propose this year. We've been dating 6-ish months, and we already know. The right person won't make you question it.